Something we have been tracking very closely here is how the housing market will respond to the Fed raising interest rates. And we already have brought to you how just the small moves the Fed has made so far have had massive implications in terms of the cost of borrowing and the mortgage interest rates. And that has a huge effect on people's ability to ultimately purchase a home. We're now starting to see the data that in the housing market, I mean, there really is kind of an imminent collapse coming, and we're seeing the early warning signs. Go ahead and put this up on the screen. So home sale cancellations jumped in June as buyers backed away. 60,000 deals fell through, equal to 15% of homes that entered into contract. This is by far the highest number that we have seen since the beginning of the pandemic, when the entire economy collapsed and was shut down. And at that point, people said, whoa, 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 I can't go through with this because I'm not sure I'm going to have a job. We are now back to approaching those levels in terms of home sale cancellation. So again, about 15% of homes that buyers, are planning to buy, they enter into a contract, are being canceled and they're backing away from, and directly tied to the actions that the Fed is taking here.
Cancel rate, like you said, it hasn't been this high basically since 2020, like right after that, and it's continuing to rise at a precipitous rate. It's just going to continue to rise, and if it gets to the 25%, it's just going to make the housing market even more of a chaos. And something I've been trying to point to is when high-priced buyers are pushed out of the home market. Let's be honest, the home market is mostly for upper middle class people at this point, just given what the price is.
I mean, median housing price is $500,000.
Exactly.
Insanity.
So you have to be upper middle class just to be able to get into it. Well, whenever the interest rates get it so that not even the upper class and only the rich, basically the upper class can be the people who afford it, then the upper middle class are going to turn to the renting market. And they are going to rent luxury property and squeeze everybody down the value chain, which is going to increase the price of the rent. We're seeing this already in the hottest housing markets across the country, which was a response to rising rates. So where the rates are, where they are right now, it's a total disaster because it pushes people into a place where they have to be able to choose between, I don't know why anyone would basically choose to have a 6% mortgage rate, is what I was also looking at. And another thing that makes this more dangerous, I didn't realize this, when rates go up to like 6%, it no longer is necessarily to your benefit to take the fixed rate mortgage, which creates again, I'm not a mortgage expert, but there are all other kinds of like wonky adjustable rate type mortgages that you can go for where you might be able to pay less, at least in the long term. But those are much more subject to market conditions. They're not as locked in and friendly to the consumer, more subject to financialization. So what I was reading is that by increasing their mortgage rate and going away from the low fixed rate mortgages that have been typical of the last 10, 15 years, or I guess last 10 years of low interest rates from the Fed, it changes the whole dynamics of all of U.S. housing, which is just not good. Yeah, it's just not good for people.
Well, the adjustable rate mortgages were part of the story in terms of the housing collapse because you remember they had the ballooning payments that consumers didn't understand what they were getting into at the beginning, and then their payment jumps and escalates to a point where immediately they can't afford it and they're being pushed down essentially because they were tricked into signing on to something that was well outside of what their actual means were. This is what we're seeing. Like, I think it's really important that you understand this is the goal of our policymakers, is to make it impossible for you to buy a house, to tank the housing market with follow-on effects, as you're pointing out, in the rental market as well. This is their goal because they are unable, because of political gridlock and lack of political imagination, to deal with the supply side issues that are fueling inflation. So the only thing they can do is take a hammer to the American consumer. And the housing market is the area that is most sensitive typically to these Fed rate increases. The other thing that you pointed to before, which is a part of this picture, Americans have never paid higher interest rates to finance car purchases.
Yes.
So also in terms of being able to afford a vehicle, to be able to get to and from work, consumers are already being hit really, really hard. And we are just at the beginning of what the Fed is ultimately planning to do. So, it's a real warning sign that this early on, you're seeing these kind of dire numbers in terms of home sale cancellations. People who thought they were going to be able to, to purchase a home, maybe for the first time, maybe be able to move somewhere that was better for them and for their family, and they're having to say, I just can't do it right now because of these rates.
Yeah, it could delay it for 10 years. Who knows whenever these things are going to come back. And then you're going to be, 45, 50? You're not even own a house? It's not good.
Not good. All right, guys, more for y'all later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.